Luka Doncic doing things that perhaps only he can. Oh, he's down. Okay, now he's up. Now he's falling away. And that shot's going in.
Just takes a seat.
Alan, what do we have to say about this here?
It's just incredible skill, but it also just shows you, too, that when he goes down, you just tend to want to stop. Monica, I don't know. Can you sit down, stand up, and make a shot?
No, I really sit down and stand up some days.
That's exactly right. To me, you had me at stand up. I'm very impressed. Speaking of Luka, it has now been, as you are well aware, a little over a year since the blockbuster trade that sent him to L.A. A man who was never short of words is still defending the trader in that case, Trader, I should say, and that's Nico Harrison. Here's Draymond Green on his podcast reflecting back to that move.
So many people crushed Nico Harrison for the reasons that he gave. And when Nico gave those reasonings, everybody said he's ridiculous, he's crazy. But now when I turn on the TV, all I see is everybody in the media who crushed Nico Harrison, who essentially aided in him getting fired, regurgitating the same things that Nico Harrison was saying. And I struggle with that because I haven't seen one person come out and say, hey, Nico, I'm sorry for the things I said about you when you made that move, because I just said the same thing out of my mouth. This has nothing to do with Luka Doncic and everything to do with the media and Nico Harrison. Nico gave his reasonings as the general manager of a team of why he thought that was the right move. And everybody said, you're an idiot.
So that's fascinating. Let me get everyone's in on this before I jump in on it. Brian Windhorst, the Windman, is listening to it. What was your reaction to what Draymond said?
Well, Nico Harrison, and this has been, rational conversation about this has actually taken place for a long time. But if you wanted to trade Luka Doncic, there was a reason to trade him. They didn't necessarily want to pay him the $300 million extension. They were concerned about his conditioning. They were concerned about his ability to lead the team to a championship. I don't necessarily agree with trading a player who's 25 years old with those concerns, but you can make the case. Which I think a lot of people said. What you couldn't make the case for, and the reason Nico Harrison was fired was because of the trade that he made. Both not opening it to more teams and even the trade that he made with LA, not getting more from LA. And then what really, and Nico's reasons, which he said the day of the trade, which was to have a defensive first team, Nico's rationale was really undercut by the fact that Anthony Davis couldn't stay healthy. And that he had sold ownership on the idea that we can't go forward with this player because he won't be long-term healthy because of his conditioning. And then the player that he traded for couldn't stay healthy. That's why he was fired. He has a tough reputation because of the fan base's pushback, but he was fired because of the failure of the trade and the dynamics of the trade.
Okay, so that's a reasonable response to all this. Alan, what is your response?
Well, for Draymond to say this is not about Luka, then why are you bringing it up? Why now are you bringing it up? You just played the Lakers. You saw what they look like. We know what's going on there. We know the numbers when Luka and LeBron are on the court at the same time. Why are you bringing this up now? What is the motivation to talk about this now? Because it's easy to talk about, right? To say everybody, of course, is him painting with a broad brush, which, that's the first rule. But what I don't like, though, is that he's creating this idea that trade made sense when Wendy just explained to you exactly why everybody was critical of it. But I just asked Draymond, why bring this up now? What's your motivation to bring this up right now? Because it is about Luka if this is what you're talking about.
So this is one of the days that I will remember on this desk, Green. I candidly, aside from the fact that the value of the trade was in question, I remember a bunch of us thinking, if, big capital letters, capital I, capital F, if this works, Dallas did get better. Not better, but Dallas is still going to be a formidable squad. And so I think there was some respect for the idea, as Wendy laid out. But ultimately, it doesn't pan out. It was just such a huge risk to take, and it didn't pan out. Like, Luka is who he is, but AD has long struggled with health, and that was your
And the Lakers are poorly built around Luka.
Yeah, literally Nico Nico Harrison has given the Lakers the blueprint on how to be successful around Luka.
Yeah,
and that's
ironically,
what they'll do this summer.
right?
Yeah,
Okay, so all these are very rational takes. I'll give a little different one. The Luka Doncic trade remains one of the worst trades in the history of American sports. It is high on the list. I'm not sure what conversations Draymond is listening to, or whatever little nitpicking people have of Luka's game, which is easy to do. He's not a great defender. He's probably never going to be a great defender, and he whines to the refs too much. He also leads the league in scoring. He is third in assists. Yeah. And the man you traded him for, we have now established 65 games as the cutoff for having a representative season. The centerpiece of the man you traded him for has done that once, count it once, since 2018. That's 8 years. Once in the last 8 years. Anthony Davis is not injury prone. He's always injured. I don't mean that to knock him, but the first thing anyone says when you mention Anthony Davis is, well, he's always hurt. That comes well before how good he is. He's always hurt. So him getting hurt is not a surprise. It was a mortal lock. We all of a sudden, this conversation has gone to a place where now we're acting like, well, Luka Doncic is obviously a problem. Is that the conversation we're having? Luka Doncic may have a problem or two. There may be some things about him that are not ideal. And Wendy, I think I saw you saying this last week. Let's not act like championships have not been won, built around players whose defense was not their strong point. I've been watching the game 50 years. There are plenty of guys who fall in that category. So the Luka Doncic trade remains, regardless of what anyone is saying, and I'm not sure I'm listening to the same conversations, regardless of any of that, it remains one of the worst trades in the history of sports. And the man who made it, I've never met Nico Harrison in my life. The man who made it, the fact that he got fired for it does not surprise me at all. Wendy, go ahead.
Well, there's a lot of people that are going to defend Nico because he's so well respected and liked by so many players who worked with him at Nike. And I don't want to assume that's what Draymond's motive is, but I do believe he's been a Nike athlete for a lot of his career. And certainly there are a lot of people who think Nico is a really savvy and smart guy. But as you said, the actions were really undercut the team. And he got a very unfortunate break after this trade in that Kyrie Irving tore his ACL. Right. That was something that they were not planning, that ruined the rest of that season and a large part of this season. But then he got incredible fortune that trade led to a potential generational player. But yet, I still think, if you're ownership and you were sold on the idea that you had to trade Luka because he wouldn't get in shape, and then Anthony Davis arrived at training camp this year not in shape, and he had off-season eye surgery. I'm not saying it's a character assassination, but he arrived in camp this year not in shape and then immediately got hurt. If you're ownership, you're saying, wait a minute, we were just sold one thing and then this happened, and then it led to this. It's all right out there in the open. There's nothing sinister here. What happened is all out there for everybody to see.
Can I just ask a question? I'm not sure, am I living in an alternative reality to everybody else? If you were starting an NBA team right now, and you had every human being currently walking the face of the earth to start it with, wouldn't one of the first, 6 or 7 people you choose be Luka Doncic?
Yes.
Is that maybe that's even selling him short?
Yeah.
No, you're saying no.
Yes,
wouldn't
I
be?
agree with
That's
you.
what I'm saying. So that's who you traded.
But that's
he's 25 years old, and that's who you traded. You traded one of the 6 or 7, and even that may not be giving him justice. You traded that guy for what he got for him, which is a player who's always hurt.
Yeah.
This isn't that complicated.
No.
You don't trade that guy.
No. We have a firm grasp of the obvious as we are discussing this. Thank you, Draymond, for the content, but it's maddening that we have to respond to it because, like a lot of his three-pointers, this is an awful take. It's an awful take. This is simply put. You cannot possibly try to reason this. And that's what I've been trying to say. Look, you're saying this is not about Luka. Then what's it about and why now? That's the part that doesn't make sense. We all understood at the time. And by the way, the media is not why Nico got fired. The fan reaction is why. The outrage from their fans and how what it did to that organization. That's what led to this.
Yeah. Okay, so I have met Nico. He's a great guy. I do know this, that I talked to him the summer after the trade. The pressure that he puts on himself, that is what is unmatched. I mean, he's a guy that works really, really hard, and his internal compass is strong. And he did it, was confident in what he did. I think Wendy has nailed it. If things play out best case scenario, we're talking about this differently. Literally, it unfolded as the worst case scenario.
Exactly.
But everybody, to your point, Greeny, has acknowledged the shortcomings in Luka Doncic's game. Does Nico deserve an apology? I don't think so. He took a big swing. It was a high risk. In this case, it's been a very low reward as it has
It was a
panned out.
massive risk.
Yeah,
and
you
to
knew
me,
it, but it was a
Wendy-
massive risk.
Wendy, I'll give you the final word on it, but I will just say this conversation is not about Nico Harrison. This
No.
conversation is about Luka
Yes,
Doncic.
yes.
Because the story of this trade cannot be written for another decade at minimum.
But it's still-
He's going to be a great player for a really long time. The Lakers haven't even started putting together a team around him yet. This trade is in its infancy. It came out of nowhere.
If Cooper Flag becomes all of this, does that change it at all for you?
No.
No.
You don't make a trade
No.
knowing you're
Just
going to
wondering.
get the first pick in the draft.
No.
That was a purely luck.
The
Had
only
nothing
reason to talk
whatsoever
about
do with
this
it.
is because the Lakers are struggling with Luka right now, and we always blame Luka and only Luka. And that's what this is about, and it's a reason to bring up the trade. But if the Lakers were playing well and winning, you don't even talk about it.
And
It's
the Lakers
because
aren't
he's
playing
struggling.
that badly. I mean, the Lakers are.
Well, they are together on the floor,
playoff,
though.
play-in
Yeah.
team, whatever the case is. He doesn't
6.
fit with LeBron.
Yeah.
Whatever that turns out to be. LeBron James is 41 years old. Luka Doncic is going to be there for a decade. Wendy, final word.
Greeny. Ooh.
Look, this is just Draymond Green sticking up for a guy who he's extremely close with, who's been extremely helpful to him. I think any of us in life and in business would probably do the same thing. It just happens to be very high profile. That's what it is. He's trying to stick up for his guy. I'm sure Nico appreciates it. Whether it's actually going to help him, that's a different conversation.
Okay, we'll leave it there. It's an interesting conversation to me, to say the least. Coming up, Big Monday double.